but we can jump in. Ooh, it's an interesting matchup. You're gonna like that one. Maybe, maybe not.
I do think it's interesting. We are going back to Relic River, and I apologize for jumping around the series, ladies and gentlemen. Just trying to, figure out what's going on with the previous series we were casting. But here on Relic River, spawning on the west side of the map in the beautiful color red, you have AKORS with the House of Lancaster, which is a civ that's been subject to a little bit of controversy lately. But we'll get into that a little bit later. On the east side, we have Deepshine. Deepshine was at our most recent LAN event. You may remember her
I do.
by being the translator for the eventual LAN champion Louis, but she is also a Conqueror player. She's very talented herself beyond her translation skills, and she's piloting the Delhi today.
Yeah, so we
So
kind of have a Delhi English matchup here, which obviously House of Lancaster plays a little bit different than the classic English. So I don't know if there's a clear favorite for now, um, but I don't think there's gonna be a hugely different opener for Delhi regardless. I do expect the Tower Victory. Sorry, no, the Dome of the Faith. Obviously, I do like the Tower Victory. That was a Freudian slip. I'm sorry. The Dome of the Faith most likely gonna be the Delhi landmark choice here. It's still the favorite. It's still the I would even say better, even though I like the Tower Victory. I played both so like a couple times lately, and the Dome of the Faith feels very, very strong. Even though I like the Tower Victory, I have to admit, Dome of the Faith definitely a strong landmark.
yeah, so what I find is actually kind of interesting. Delhi got a sort of nerf to Tower of Victory.
Hmm.
I don't know if that was intentional, but the most recent update changed the cost of scholars from 130 to 135. So again, purpose of that change I'm not entirely sure, but what that effectively does is I think it pushes more players towards Dome of the Faith and away from Tower of Victory because you don't get a discount on those scholars, which are essentially the backbone of the Delhi army.
Um. Okay. Yeah. I'm actually right now not 100% sure. I thought that the Dome of the Faith Scholar cost also got increased. Like both costs got increased, didn't they?
They did, but Dome of the Faith gives a discount, so it's not inhibitive if you want to go scholars here. So I do think we're
Yeah.
going to see Dome of the Faith right now, regardless. And on cue, Deepshine kind of going with Dome of the Faith. On the other side, you have Lancaster Castle here, 3 on stone. So we're going to get a couple manors here. The real question is, do we get 3 manors? Do we get 3 manors in Castle? Some sort of feudal play? Do we get 6 manors? And AKORS is going to have to make that decision based upon what he scouts on Deepshine's side.
Mm.
And he is wheeling around to the base momentarily here, so he'll kind of start being able to make some of those decisions. I think he's definitely going to go with 3 manors. But depending on what production buildings he sees, what landmark he sees, which landmark is built on the backside of the base, so he doesn't have line of sight on that just yet.
Yeah.
But
So
that's all going to affect his decision because Delhi, whether they go Dome of the Faith or they go Tower of Victory, they can absolutely punish you in Feudal Age if they so choose.
yeah, usually I would say yes, but with the Lancaster Castle, I think it's actually kind of difficult. So it is a kind of like a budget keep in your base, so that is a very strong English defense. Doesn't have any garrison slots though, but it is a good defense nonetheless. And they also have the ability to levy units if they need to. So even with no production buildings, you can still fairly easily get out some military if you need to. A little bit like the Kremlin militia, if you will. Um, with the exception that there's no additional tickets. But you could go for that if you need to. And so I don't think that Deepshine will look for some early aggression. I'd probably expect just a general fast castle, grab your sacred sites along the way kind of thing, especially if AKORS chooses to go for more than 3 manors initially. So 3 definitely, Why would he stop at 2? But after that, it's really gonna be a question if he chooses more than 3 manors.
Interesting decision here from Deepshine. She is going for a blacksmith before any production buildings, and that's probably just due to the fact that she sees these manors are coming out. She knows that, hey, AKORS doesn't have any production, he's got no military, so me investing in military, not really the wisest decision right now because I'm not going to be able to do anything with it. That town center has 2 arrows. You've got the quote-unquote budget keep, if you will. I don't think the Lancasters appreciate that very much, being called budget, but regardless. So Deepshine just going for the blacksmith. She'll be able to kind of get some of her blacksmith upgrades in a little bit sooner. And here you go. You got the stables coming down now. So some Ghazi Raiders are no doubt on their way, and they'll be able to sort of raid this gold a little bit, slow down AKORS, maybe fast castle is what it looks like. He's got 8 on gold, so that is absolutely a fast castle.
Yeah, it's either a fast castle or it's like, I don't want to defend this position, get the gold as fast as I need it, but I mean, usually you don't want to give up a position that easily, and so I would expect it's just regular fast castle, 3 manors. Doesn't look like it's going for... Although, I mean, I guess it could. I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't think he was gonna go for the additional ones. Just go for the 3 for now.
No, and you see this a lot out of Lancaster, right? It's either 3 manors, 6 manors, or, and then Castle Age. You've got a little bit of a wood wall coming up on the south side of the base just to kind of prevent, make those Ghazis have to really work to get any idle time or get any damage on those villagers here. So I like that from AKORS, right? He's turtling up a little bit, and that's kind of the controversy around Lancaster, at least in the first couple weeks, is they're a turtle civ. So a lot of players there just not their favorite civ to play against. Seeing as there's still 5 on stone, makes me think there's going to be a couple more manors on the way, and Ghazi Raider kind of comes in there, but he's getting shot at by houses, by a castle. He's got to pull back. He's going just to get healed up down towards the South Sacred Site. So really good use of multitasking there. Just kind of, bring the Scholar down, cap the Sacred Site, heal up. And we are getting 6 manors from AKORS.
Yeah.
6 manors into castle. But what those 6 manors mean is that Deepshine is going to have 2, if not 3, sacred sites, which always feels bad if that's what you have to fight into. 3 sacred site deli is a pretty scary monster.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. So, like, my experience with Lancaster, House of Lancaster currently or so far has been, if I kind of let them do their thing and I let them cook in their base, and I just go fast castle myself, grab the relics, grab the sacred sites, maybe depending on the civ, go for a 2nd or even 3rd town center and just boom away. It's kind like, I don't want to say it's easier to match what they can put out, and I had some games where I was really surprised by how much they can pump out, but I had some very easy games nonetheless against that approach, because they sit in their base, they don't do anything for 15 minutes. Meanwhile, Deepshine already has sacred sites, and now can just comfortably, in a sense, go up to Castle Age herself. And should have a similar timing, and then it's Delhi Castle against House of Lancaster Castle, which I don't think Delhi should be too afraid to deal with that, especially with the 3
absolutely not. And one of the things you have to know about, like, how to combat Lancaster is, I think a lot of their games are going to go to castle because they are just so turtly, and you can punish them in feudal, but it's just, an uphill battle at times. You kind of hit them when they need to go for food. They are an English civ, but they don't have the quick and easy farm transition that their cousins have. And sure, they get plenty of food from each of these manors, currently generating at 60 a minute per manor. That's only, with 6, 360 food per minute, which is a lot, but it's not enough to sustain a Castle Age army and continue trading out. Ghazis move around the backside. Gold villagers are forced to evacuate. Spears come over so they can return to work right here. but it looks like Deepshine is fine just causing idle time, and she wants to slow down this castle age as much as possible. Ghazi's coming in, might be able to get a few hits here. One villager gets trapped in the middle there. Spear's coming over, not going to be able to save him, and the Ghazis just get out. One Ghazi for one villager. Deepshine will take that.
Yeah, I think for now that's not the worst trade, especially because we have House of Lancaster only being on one town center, which is quite usual for House of Lancaster. Also doesn't have the King's Palace as a landmark choice, so it's either King's College with some unique technologies or the White Tower. But even though the White Tower, I do believe, is still different, right? You can't produce units from that, so it is in a sense a little bit different than the regular English one, or isn't it?
That is correct. So the cousin of House of Lancaster, they have a civ ability that allows them to produce units from keeps. House of Lancaster doesn't have that ability, so the White Tower is a keep with all the behaviors, technologies, and bonuses associated with the House of Lancaster keep. So I'm in agreement there. I don't believe that the White Tower really allows you to produce any units, and that's why we're seeing the King's College sort of be the landmark of choice. And what's interesting about House of Lancaster is their knights. There's an upgrade in the King's College that gives them +6 damage versus heavy. So their knights, in essence, not only now hard counter men-at-arms, but they also counter other knights in a sense. So they have some really powerful knight options available if they choose to go cav. Deepshine, though, going up with the House of Learning, exactly what I would expect out of her. Just kind of keep House of Lancaster in the base. She's going to start building up a pretty impressively sized Castle Age military, and she's going to look to strike right when House of Lancaster starts running out of food. They do have a couple of sheep left, 4, and there we have the first levy. We have these Demi-Lancers coming out.
Interesting. So yeah, so you have 9, sorry, we have 9 of the banners up in the UI here on the top left, and that's the moment where you hit that button, get the Demi-Lancers out, because that's more or less their strongest moment, probably, you know, hitting the early castle before the upgrades come in. You have some nice Demi-Lancers. They also do get an upgrade as soon as you hit your castle age yourself. King's College is coming up, barely missing the Scholar here, so a little bit of a lucky situation, if you will, for Deepshine with that Scholar making it out alive. And is already taking... Wait, is she actually taking all 5 relics at the
Yes,
same...
she is.
Oh my goodness, that is masterclass.
Yeah, so ships in the wind, as we say, for this Scholar. He's bringing home that beautiful relic. I expect a 5-0 relic game, and this is kind of the thing about House of Lancaster is you could feudal all in them, you could outboom them in your civ's unique ways, and it's part of the reason why I'm not really worried about running into the civ on the ladder. They feel like they have some really clean, really sharp timings, but with all tempo civs, you need to be able to hit those timings perfectly in order to get the maximum benefit out of it, and that's really hard to do. So it feels like a civ that the pros are going to wield with just absolute impunity here and do really well with, but I think most of the ladder might struggle a little bit against this. Demi-Lancers taking down one Ghazi Raider here, and they look like knights, but don't be fooled. They do 9 damage, so they're not as powerful. They're wheeling around to the berries in the back. Deepshine, no towers, not going to be able to see this, so should get those charge on those villagers. Charge gets cancelled though, goes for the surround. That's going to be 5 villagers that likely go down because they can't escape anymore.
Yeah, nice move here by AKORS, and Deepshine could have, you know, in theory known about that because the Ghazi Raider got in contact with them, but likely didn't pay too much attention to that one. So nice little equalize here by AKORS, finding 5 villagers, putting a little bit of a dent here into the food eco as well here for Delhi. And speaking of, you know, food eco with Delhi, they have a moment where they also start running out of food, and then they're kind of in trouble. Deepshine has a lot of sheep still left, So that is good for her, and she's also bringing in the deer slowly but surely with the pro scouts. Um, but kind of needs to look into her food income because currently House of Lancaster is really strong in that regard and might be able to push out a lot of units here very fast. Already has a lot of spearmen and a couple of yeomen on the field. Is walling off on the north side here. So yeah, could look for some good military aggression pretty soon, while he's decapturing the sacred sites as well.
Yeah, AKORS might try to slow play this a little bit. He's in the middle of a farm transition, which is absolutely necessary for him. The passive generation of wood from these manors does absolutely help with the farm transition, but he still needs to kind of complete it. And he also needs to come up with an answer for that war elephant right there. Currently, he's fielding none of it, and that war elephant is just going to terrorize if he doesn't do something about it.
Yeah, I mean he does have a couple spearmen. I mean a lot actually, but the spearmen, even though they did get a buff against war elephants, still, I mean, yeah, still are gonna die, especially because Deepshine also has a lot of archers on her side, and so could come down to a little bit of a micro battle. And speaking about micro battle, we lost a couple of lancers here on Delhi's side actually against the spearmen, so I don't know if that was super intentional running them into the spearmen here. So Deepshine needs to be careful that she doesn't lose her military presence, because she is ahead right now in terms of army value, so she should win a fight, a straight up fight, if she gets to that. But that also depends on if she can neutralize the spearmen here, because this is gonna be her biggest issue right now.
Spearman getting a lot of value, taking down those knights right there. A little bit of a mistake from Deepshine, just losing those knights there on their way back to defend the sacred site. And AKORS, little by little, is making me think that he might be able to take this one. Deepshine though, 34 archers on the field, and I don't know if AKORS has really seen the extent of that amount of archers right here. So, might get caught off guard a little bit. Those archers will slice through all these spearmen, but where is her military? She has a lot, it's in the front of her base, and she's pushing out now. 3 war elephants, followed by 36 archers. That's going to be a little difficult for AKORS and his current unit comp to deal with, even with synchronized shot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so synchronized shot, which is coming out. No, that's a different one. Sorry. Is gonna deal very effectively here with the archers. So it kind of comes down to, as long as he has the synchronized shot ready, he should be able to keep the archers at bay. But as soon as that is over, the archers should be able to clean out the spearmen very fast.
Deepshine's going to Imperial. That's what she's thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense in a way, you know, you try to go imp in a moment where your opponent doesn't expect it, kind of catch them off guard. And it does take quite a while for all the Imperial upgrades to trickle in. And so it does make sense to get it and then hope that you will survive for the next 10 minutes or so. Meanwhile, she is taking one sacred site, losing another one here. So kind of like evening it out with 2 sacred sites at the moment. Has a lot of scholars as well, so that should, well, I mean, most of them, or half of them, are actually on the field somewhere or in the military buildings, so might not actually produce super fast in terms of technology.
Yeah, AKORS has to know something is up. I don't think he's going to be very surprised when the imp comes in here. Deepshine's not kind of letting him spend time decapping these sacred sites. Right now, AKORS has the advantage, 97 military to 69 on Deepshine's side. So I'd be scratching my head here, kind of like, why is she letting me decap these? Why isn't she contesting these? And in a little bit, he's going to figure out it's because there's a Palace of the Sultan coming down, and he's going to now have to deal with tower elephants.
Yeah, I mean, it does take a little bit of time for the tower elephants to be produced, but yeah, that is something that he will have to come to terms with. Meanwhile, Deepshine donating her scouts, who will try to get the remaining deer here. We have a little bit of a raid here coming in by AKORS. Could potentially find, okay, some scholars for sure. Ooh, are they gonna outheal? That's not quite, but this one scholar is doing a lot of work here. Look at that healing. Oh my goodness.
Got some powerful healing, but part of that is just the Demi-Lancers, right? The Demi-Lancers just don't do that much damage. Elephants come in and just mop those Demi-Lancers up. And Deepshine, we've got a emergency keep coming up on the backside to secure her base here. And again, she's not looking to take a fight. We have a quick synchronized shot comes in, gets a couple of Deepshine's archers, and AKORS is pulling back a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't want to contest too much here. If he loses, the thing is, if he loses the fight here right now, cannot really retreat, then you have an Imperial Delhi against you with a bigger army. That's not something that you want to face, if not absolutely necessary. Some siege workshop being dropped in the front here, so that should be very helpful in dealing with the keep, dropping a keep himself as well on the big gold vein. That should also secure the sacred site for him. And
so it's called a rock in a hard place, and that's currently where AKORS is sitting. Coming up, putting a keep here in mid-map, and this is going to be the center of his attack here. He is going up to Imperial Age, though. So now the question comes in, Berkshire Palace, Wingard Palace.
I mean,
what do you think?
I heard some opinions, and I do agree with that. And just yesterday I actually had a game against an English player who, it wasn't a super annoying game, but he went for a Berkshire Palace, and after the game I was thinking the Wingard Palace would have been so much better. And I heard opinions that with the House of Lancaster, the Wingard Palace is the better choice, because the Berkshire Palace, as great as it is, it's just a static defense. Whereas the Wingard Palace provides you with some really nice options to get some good, powerful units on the field. And so this is what we're seeing. The Wingard Palace also close to the sacred site, close to the middle here. So definitely doesn't want to spend too much time running units from here. So he plans on using the Wingard Palace as much as possible. Which, yeah, I like. I like the Wingard Palace for that reason. Also because the Berkshire Palace is just super annoying to deal with. So I appreciate not seeing it for once.
Yeah, as someone once told me, if you can go Wingard, you do go Wingard. And this feels absolutely like the right time to go Wingard here. Deepshine starting to put keeps up all over the place. AKORS coming out with these trebuchets to sort of counter and allow him to crack this hard outer shell of the Delhi base right here. And there's the age up coming in right now, and let's see what he goes for at the Wingard. You've got a Wingard army, which is 2 spearmen, 2 crossbowmen, and a treb. Earl's retinue, which is 6 demi-lancers, 2 hobilars. Garrison command, 8 spearmen, 1 Earl's guard. And Gunpowder Contingent, which is an army of 2 Rebaldequins, which I actually think would be very helpful here, and a Culverin.
Yeah, in general, Siege is very good against the elephants, as long as you can kind of keep it alive. And we just see, so the synchronized shot did a ton of damage here on the Delhi ranged units, but as soon as that is done, you have a little bit of a cooldown. There's really not anything in terms of frontline here for AKORS, and I actually think that he pulled the trigger a little bit too soon here, before his upgrades could come in. He still is Castle Age in terms of, you know, the Yeoman, the Earth Guard, as well as with the Spearmen, and so it's basically still a Castle Age, even though he spent all that resource. All those resources to get into the Imperial Age, and so a little bit too soon here, you know, waking the beast in a literal sense here, and now heavily in the retreat. He needs to go back to the Wingard Palace, and it's okay to lose that keep. That does it's a regular keep. Doesn't really matter too much. It is a little bit painful to lose his workshop, but by no means should you ever lose the Wingard Palace. So definitely needs to secure this spot here. Maybe even drop another. He doesn't have a stone. Okay, never mind. Ah, difficult. So that was a pretty brutal fight. Lost a couple thousand value, like 2.5 or so, and Deepshine's army is just increasing more and more. A couple elephants, a lot of archers behind hand cannoneers even. So how do you deal with that?
Normally I would say you GG go next. That's usually how you deal with that. Look, Imperial Age Delhi army, fully upgraded with hand cannoneers, archers, and elephants. Really hard to stomp here. Elephants getting pulled back from to protect them from the spears while the archers carve right through them. Tower elephants moving up, and this front line from AKORS is just slowly disappearing here. And it won't be long before he has to start kiting with these yeomen.
Which, I mean, to be fair, he
That's
can.
it.
They're a little bit faster, so he can kite with them if he needs to. But then again, if you kite, you lose the Wingard Palace, and so that's not really what, like, at what cost do you actually kite, or at what point do you just go? And a nice synchronized shot here, though. So the Yeoman really MVP here in this fight, doing extremely well, even though they're just, I mean, archers in a sense, but regardless, losing the Wingard Palace, that is gonna be painful. Also losing gold here. And then you're back to square one. In your base, no gold income, barely any gold left. House of Lancaster also not having the enclosures, and so the farms, they don't provide extra passive gold income. Which, by the way, I don't even understand why the English do that, but I guess it's kind of nice to have some passive gold income. But the House of Lancaster doesn't have that, so gold is gonna be their issue. The manors do provide 40 gold per minute, but that's very, very limited.
Another synchronized shot there, coming in, taking out a couple hand cannoneers and archers, but no answer for these elephants yet, and they continue to move forward. Spears, technically the answer, but tower elephants with hand cannoneers up top really cut them down and make quick work. And AKORS, he needs to start fielding some cannons. He needs to change his comp here, because you see the Ghazi Raiders coming in from Deepshine. They're going to feast on the Yeomen. Yeomen are fast, but they're not escape Ghazi Raider fast.
No. No, but at the same time, super, super low elephants here. Deepshine 26 scholars could move out a couple of scholars to keep the elephants alive. Because AKORS is doing a great job with kiting at a very expensive cost, you know, with the Wingard Palace being lost and all that, but he is staying in the game. He is keeping at least a fraction of his army alive right now, and slowly but surely is kiting those elephants to death. I mean, it takes forever, but as long as it's not over, he still kind of has a shot.
Yeah. Here's part of the problem. He's got 52 workers, 22 of them are idle, running for their dear lives right now, back to his base.
Yeah, that is true. He did lose a lot of villagers and was, like, his eco was way behind. And yeah, not really a good way to fight with the elephants. Deepshine winning this solid game with some interesting, I don't, sort of fast Imperial, I guess. And then just mowing it down with the elephants, so just good old classic Delhi things.
Yeah, and this kind of highlights the challenge of House of Lancaster. There's a lot of players who are like, oh, it's so simple, it's so basic, it's so easy, a beginner can be good with the Civ, but I don't think that's necessarily true because of just how the Civ is structured. You have to make use of the levies, the advantage you get from them, and if you don't, other Civs could quickly outboom you, sort of just surpass you in their own unique way. You saw it there with Delhi. They just kind of were like, all right, cool, you want to sit in your base? I'm just gonna go Imperial. I don't even mind, right? Once I
Yeah.
get Imperial, all my techs are free. I start getting these tower elephants that are really hard to deal with, and that's sort of how Lancaster plays. Is they play in a way where you let the other Civ sort of do what they want, and sometimes that can come back and be a real problem, as we saw here.